Hello there you guys, welcome to one of my videos. Zinedine Zidane would succeed at Manchester United. Zidane, if he came to Manchester United, he would get the best out of these group of players. He would be capable of winning trophies, and he would suit the strappings of the club. So I reckon Zidane would be the man for Manchester United. Talks have been ongoing between Manchester United and Zinedine Zidane, but it's said the deal is difficult because his preference right now is to coach the French team. Zidane's close relationships with Ronaldo and Varane could persuade him to join. Cristiano Ronaldo wants Zidane at Manchester United in 2022. Ronaldo knows Zidane well because Ronaldo played under Zidane when he was at Real Madrid. Zidane is available because he left. Sorry about that. He left Real Madrid in the summer. You've got to admire what he did at Real Madrid. He won a lot of trophies at Real Madrid, so reflecting on that, he's got a good pedigree behind him. He's not yet managed in the Premier League, so it would be good for him to come and experience the Premier League. Reports have said before, though, that Zidane is not interested in the Manchester United job and is currently enjoying life away from football management. Reports from Spain did say quite a few weeks ago now that Zinedine Zidane rejected the Newcastle job as he's waiting for the Man United or France job. Brendan Rodgers, he's been linked with a managerial role at Manchester United. He said not so long ago that Brendan Rodgers is more likely to become the new Man United manager than Zinedine Zidane. Recently, Rodgers was house hunting in Cheshire. Brendan Rodgers is the favourite to replace Solskjaer. The Manchester Evening News said, was it last week, that Man United are ready to trigger Brendan Rodgers' contract clause if Solskjaer gets sacked. And apparently Brendan Rodgers has already verbally agreed to become the new Manchester United manager. But his preference would be to wait until next season, because he's reluctant to leave Leicester midway through the season. You've got to admire what Brendan Rodgers has done at Leicester. So far at Leicester, he's won the Community Shield and the FA Cup. He's been in charge of Leicester for almost 3 years and he's got a contract with them until 2025. There's still narratives coming out regarding Pochettino. I'm not going to disregard Pochettino. You know, him coming to Manchester United is a possibility because it's already said that Pochettino will consider a return to the Premier League on his next job. Pochettino has a full season left on his PSG contract. We tried to get Pochettino when he was managerless. But I do reckon Pochettino is a good manager, even though he's hardly won anything. I thought he did very well in his 5.5 years at Tottenham. Analysing the vast majority of his tenure at Tottenham were competing in and out of the top four. And in 2018, he guided Tottenham to their first ever Champions League final. I think Tottenham made a huge mistake sacking Pochettino. Ralph Rangnick, he's also been spoken about as well. Fabrizio Romano, was it last week, give us an update on him. He said that Manchester United turned down Ralph Rangnick. There was rumours of Ralph Rangnick coming in as the interim manager until the end of the season. Erik ten Hag has also been linked with a managerial role at Man United. I presume there's United fans that want him to come in. You've got to admire what Erik ten Hag has done at Ajax. He's won a few trophies with them and he's been at Ajax for 4 years. He is reluctant to leave Ajax though, that's what reports said the other week. In regards to Solskjaer, the Manchester United board are yet to make a decision on Solskjaer's future. So Solskjaer is expected to be in charge for the game against Watford this weekend. Fabrizio Romano did say yesterday that Manchester United want to continue with Solskjaer for as long as possible, with a view to assess the situation in the summer. Well, it did say the other day that Man United allegedly made a final decision on the future of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It said Man United are now committed to stand by Solskjaer until the end of the season. Last weekend, Duncan Castles came out and said that senior stars want Solskjaer sacked. Solskjaer is under pressure because Manchester United have had back-to-back home defeats to Manchester City and Liverpool, and Man United have only won one of their last 6 Premier League games, and at the moment Man United are currently sitting 6th in the Premier League. Last week, reports came out and said that Solskjaer was waiting to be sacked after leaving Manchester. Last Monday, Solskjaer flew back home to Norway with his family. Solskjaer should have been sacked after the 5-0 defeat to Liverpool. If Manchester United would have sacked Solskjaer after that game, I can assure Manchester United would have got Antonio Conte. He said after the humiliation to Liverpool that Solskjaer had been given 3 games to save his job. We only won one of them 3 games, beat Tottenham 3-0, drew 2-2 with Atalanta. Ronaldo saved us in that game against Atalanta. If it weren't for Ronaldo, we'd have lost that game, and we lost 2-0 to Manchester City. And it was a very, very poor performance against Man City. It was as bad as the Liverpool game. After the defeat to Man City, Solskjaer did admit that Man United were outclassed by Man City, and he said the Man City defeat was a big step backwards. Solskjaer is losing the players. He's also losing the fans' support. A lot of United fans have said, though, if Solskjaer really cared about the club, he would resign. But obviously, he's not going to resign because he doesn't get paid anything if he resigns. And he refused to resign after the 5-0 defeat to Liverpool. At the end of the day, Solskjaer gets $7.5 million if the club decide to sack him. In the summer, Solskjaer signed a new 3-year contract with an option of a further year. And we made a mistake giving him that contract, and a lot of Manchester United fans will agree with me on that aspect. Reflecting on our poor performances, yes, some of the blame stems from Solskjaer, because Solskjaer's tactics and his team selections have been questioned a lot. But on the other side of things, not all of the blame stems from the manager. There's also players that have to take responsibility for those poor performances. But at this moment in time, the club from top to bottom is in a huge predicament. And the way to get ourselves out of this huge predicament is to get a change of manager, and structural changes are also needed at the club. You know, our board have got to have the balls to sack Solskjaer. You know, the reason Solskjaer's lasted as long as he has done is because he's a legend of the club. That's what's basically saved his job. Disregarding being a legend of the club, I think he would have been sacked a while ago. And of course we all adore Solskjaer, reflecting on what he's done for the club. Solskjaer was a great player for Manchester United. He enjoyed 11 years as a player. He flourished under Sir Alex Ferguson's guidance. And Solskjaer had a proven pedigree as a player. But unfortunately, he hasn't got a proven pedigree as a manager. So that is a concern. Solskjaer's been given long enough now at Manchester United. He's been Manchester United manager for almost 3 years. The expectations are far too high for Solskjaer to exceed as Man United manager, and he's in a position that he shouldn't be in. Solskjaer's not yet won a trophy as Manchester United manager. We haven't won a trophy since 2017. That's nowhere near good enough to our standards. Solskjaer knew when he'd taken over at Manchester United it was going to be a massive job. Not only a massive job, he knew it was going to be a difficult job as well. You know, Solskjaer is managing one of the biggest clubs in the world. Solskjaer got appointed in December 2018 to replace Mourinho. In his first 3 months, he was the interim manager. He did very well as the interim manager. He won like 14 games out of 19 in all competitions. So, reflecting on that, the club decided to give him the job on a permanent basis back in March 2019. And yes, I thought we made a mistake giving him the job on a permanent basis. Maybe we should have waited until the end of that particular season to decide or not whether he'd be the right candidate. But there again, it was hard not to give him the job on a permanent basis, reflecting how well he did when he first came in. In this year's summer transfer window, Solskjaer received very good backing from the board. You know, the board still continue to back Solskjaer now. Plus, Man United enjoyed a very good summer transfer window. You know, spent around 141 million, made 4 signings. 3 of the signings were major signings. Obviously brought Sancho in, Varane, and re-signed Ronaldo after 12 years. Solskjaer's enjoyed like 5 transfer windows now as permanent Man United manager. And Manchester United have got a very, very good squad. But the reason we're not getting the best out of a lot of the players like I've mentioned before, is because we're a team of individuals. We don't actually play as a team. You've got the likes of City, Liverpool and Chelsea that all play as a team. And that explains why they're in a much better position than Manchester United at the moment. If we played as a team, we'd be up there competing. I thought Man United would have been challenging for the league this season or even winning the league, because Man United have got a title winning squad. Man United have not won the Premier League since 2013, and Solskjaer did mention at the start of this season that his ambition was to win the Premier League. Manchester United, though, have not been the same team since Ferguson retired. And a lot of United fans predicted it was all going to go wrong when Ferguson retired, which obviously it has done. Ferguson brought success to Manchester United. He won 30 odd trophies, including 13 Premier League titles, but Fergie didn't settle in straight away because he didn't win out in his first 4 years at Man United. So it does take some managers time to settle in, and Ferguson's obviously backed Solskjaer. You know, Ferguson was a very long-serving manager at Man United. He enjoyed a 27-year managerial tenure. The only mistake Ferguson ever made was recommending David Moyes in when he retired, but the reasons he did that is because they're both Scottish, and plus Ferguson had a lot of time for Moyes. But yeah, since Ferguson, Man United have sacked 3 managers. You know, we sacked David Moyes, Louis van Gaal and Jose Mourinho. So Solskjaer is our 4th permanent manager since Ferguson retired. Manchester United are going to offload players next year. Paul Pogba, I think he's going next year, because it said not so long ago that Manchester United are prepared to sell Paul Pogba in the January transfer window. Well, it's better to offload him in January and cash in for him rather than let him go on a free next summer. Pogba may never play for Manchester United again, because Pogba is going to be missing the rest of 2021, because Pogba suffered a thigh injury in France training. Pogba has only got 1 game to serve in the league out of the 3-match ban he got. Pogba got sent off in the 5-0 defeat to Liverpool. Pogba, though, did play in the 2-2 draw against Atalanta, and his performance was poor, and reflecting on his poor performance, he got heavily criticised. There again, reports from France did say not so long ago that Pogba wants to renew his contract with Man United, but reportedly on one condition: that he's made the Premier League's highest paid player. So Pogba wants to overtake Ronaldo as the highest paid player. At the moment, Pogba receives around 290 grand a week on his current contract. Pogba's current contract at Man United expires next summer. Before the start of this season, Pogba rejected a new Man United contract offer. But I don't want Paul Pogba to go. You know, I want him to stay because I think he's a good player. He's not only a good player, he's an imperative player as well. And he enjoyed a good start to the Premier League season, Pogba. You know, he's got 7 assists so far in the league. He produced good performances for Man United in the last couple of months of last season, but at one point last season he was out with a thigh injury for a while. And he sustained some ankle injuries at Man United. Pogba's had a long-running transfer saga. He's been linked with his former club Juventus. He did endure 4 good years with Juventus before he rejoined Man United. He's been relentlessly linked with Real Madrid. PSG have been in for him. Barcelona have been in for him. He did mention earlier on this season that he was offered to Barcelona, and Inter Milan have been in for him before. So there you go. And, Mino Raiola has been working hard now for a while to get his client to move away from the football club. This season is Pogba's 6th season at Man United since he rejoined. He's won 3 trophies at the club so far, and he's our most expensive signing at the moment because we paid £89 million for him. Matic, I think Manchester United are going to be offloading him next year. I've always had my strong reservations about Matic. Even though he's had his good games at Man United, Matic has always been a static midfielder, plus he's aging up as well. So there you go. Matic isn't one of our first choice midfielders, but despite that, he gets his chances, and surprisingly enough, he's ahead of Van der Beek in our midfield. I think Matic is the only predominant centre defensive midfielder we've got. Matic has been at Manchester United for 4.5 years. Paid 40 million for him from Chelsea back in 2017. Donny van der Beek, he's leaving in January. He's confirmed that himself. Van der Beek has to leave because he's not getting enough game time at Manchester United. So reflecting on his lack of game time, we haven't really had much of a perception on him at Man United. But in general, he is a good player. Solskjaer should be starting Van der Beek, especially in the Premier League. He did come on in the 2-0 defeat to Man City and he made an impact. He came on in the 2-2 draw against Atalanta and made an impact. So it just shows you how good he can be. Prior to the Liverpool game, don't forget, Solskjaer did make an admission regarding Van der Beek, saying that Van der Beek is frustrated and disappointed over his situation at Old Trafford, and he did mention earlier on this season that Van der Beek was furious with Solskjaer after he was left on the bench in the 2-1 win against Villarreal. Don't forget, earlier on this season, Van der Beek told Solskjaer his best position. He said he reckons he'd be best served operating as a number 6 or as a number 8. And it revert back to earlier on this season, Van der Beek spoke about his Man United future in an exclusive interview with Ferdinand. Van der Beek's endured a difficult 19 months now, is it, with Manchester United? This season is his 2nd full season at the club. I expected him to play a lot more than he has done. At the end of the day, we got him for 40 million. Add-ons weren't included. He's got a contract with Man United till 2025. There's an option of a further year, and he's versatile. He can play in 3 different roles. Jesse Lingard, it looks like he's going to be leaving next year. I'm hearing that Lingard could leave Man United for just £10 million. Well, it's better to cash in for him in January rather than let him go on a free next summer, because Lingard's current contract at Man United expires next summer. Lingard doesn't really get in the team, does he? He's made a few appearances this season. Well, it did mention earlier on this season that Lingard rejected a new Man United contract offer because of 2 players. He has been part of the club though for a long time, raising up our academy in that. And earlier on this season, it did actually mention that Solskjaer wants Lingard to stay at Man United. Second half of last season, Lingard endured a 4-month loan spell with West Ham and he made an impact. West Ham tried to get him in this year's summer transfer window, but they couldn't get him because they were struggling to meet Man United's 25 million asking price. Martial, I think he's going next year. Martial doesn't get in the team. Plus, he's not good enough to represent the club and just come back from injury not so long ago. Martial was out with an knee injury for a while last season. He's had one good season at Man United, I'd say. That was his debut season under Louis van Gaal era. Before the start of this season, it said Solskjaer refused to sell Martial as he remains part of his plans. Solskjaer does seem to have a lot of trustworthy in him. That explains why Solskjaer giving that number 9 shirt. Manchester United got Martial in a deal worth, 58 million from Monaco back in 2015. Martial's been at Manchester United for 6.5 years. He's got 3 years left on his contract. He's on around £200,000 a week, isn't he, at Man United? Juan Mata, I think he's also going next year. Mata's contract at Man United expires next summer. Earlier on this year, Juan Mata signed a 1-year contract extension. I can't understand why we extended Mata's contract for a further year, because he doesn't even get in the team. Plus, he's lost that yard of pace and he's aging up. Overall, I think Mata's a good player, and I reckon that he's had a good career at Manchester United. He's made over 200 appearances in all competitions and he's scored over 50 goals. And he's been a long-serving player. He's been at Manchester United for 7.5 years. At the first part of last season, he rejected an 18 million a year contract offer to play in Saudi Arabia, and we got Mata back in 2014 from Chelsea for £40 million. We brought him in under the David Moyes era. Yes, he can play as an attacking midfielder and he can play as a right winger. Cavani, I think he's also leaving next year as well, unfortunately. I can't say I want Cavani to leave though, with the impact he's made since he's come in. Telles, Jones, Baid, a lot, I think they're leaving next year, and I think Dean Henderson will be going out on loan, because obviously Dean Henderson doesn't get in goal now because De Gea reclaimed that number 1 spot back. Henderson wants a loan move away from Man United. He's already made that clear. He's only been in goal for 1 game so far this season. That was the game against West Ham in the Cup. At one point, though, he was out with COVID for a while. At one point last season, Henderson got given the number 1 jersey and did well in a lot of the games he was in goal for last season. So, there you go. There is inconsistent players at Manchester United. You know, I don't think Fred's good enough to represent the club. I want us to sell him next year, but I haven't heard any rumours about Fred leaving as yet. You know, Fred has been subjected to transfer speculation before. Man United overpaid for Fred, got him in a deal worth 50 million from Shakhtar Donetsk. McTominay, you know, he's another one. I don't think he's good enough to represent the club. I don't now think he's the long-term future for Man United from now, but maybe still needs a bit more time. He has had his good games though at Man United, to be fair. Fred and McTominay do play a hell of a lot of games together. And a lot of United fans have had a go at Solskjaer for persistently selecting Fred and Scott McTominay in the centre midfield. They do not complement each other at all. You know, Victor Lindelof, he's another one who I don't think is good enough to represent the club, even though he has had his good games at Man United, but he has been inconsistent in a lot of games. I can't understand why Lindelof is ahead of Eric Bailly. You know, because Bailly is a far superior centre-half to Lindelof. Lindelof's been at Manchester United for like 4.5 years. Got him from Benfica back in 2017 for 31 million. Maguire is inconsistent. He's been very, very poor this season for Man United. He's been even worse since he came back from that calf injury. overall, he's a decent centre half. And he has had his good games at Man United, but he's been inconsistent in a lot of games for Man United. The best game he's had this season was probably the 3-0 win against Tottenham, even though he got booked in that game. You only seem to get the best out of Maguire when he's alongside Varane. When he's alongside Lindelof or Bailly or both of them, you can't seem to get the best out of him. Man United paid 80 million for Maguire, so he's the most expensive centre-half in the world at the moment and the second most expensive signing at the club. Luke Shaw, he's been inconsistent so far this season. Where's the Luke Shaw from last season? Because last season, Luke Shaw was absolutely superb. He was far superior last season to how he has been so far this season. I still think he's got a long-term future at the club despite his poor performances this season, because I'm sure at some point Luke Shaw will regain his form. Overall, he's a very good left-back. Lingard, he's not good enough to represent the club either, but like I mentioned earlier, he doesn't really get in the team. Martial, he's not good enough to represent the club. Sancho, he hasn't been good enough so far. He's been very, very poor for Manchester United. But overall, Sancho is a good player. I think Solskjaer has been to blame, though, for Sancho's poor performances, because when Solskjaer decides to play him, he persistently plays him out of position. Fans have been getting on Sancho's back, though, reflecting on his poor performances. And I said Sancho will do well at the club, providing that he's used correctly, because it does take some players time to settle in. So there you go. So anyway guys, that's everything to update you today. Drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribe as always, and take care. God bless, and I'll see you all again very, very soon.